and we're trying to obtain feedback. His perception of our agency will be very different than the perception of a client that we've been very successful with. For example, a soup kitchen. We have two folks that come into the soup kitchen on a daily basis. We have one client that comes into the soup kitchen that's highly allergic, and we have another client that comes into the soup kitchen that has absolutely no allergies. Now, being that our resources are limited and being that we rely on food that's donated to us, many times the suppers that we serve will contain allergens. Which in turn may very likely lead to the highly allergic client leaving hungry. If that happens one too many times, then the client will effectively perceive our soup kitchen as useless. He comes here for supper every night and he can't eat anything. Happens to be that the meals that we serve at the soup kitchen are gourmet, and we have a world-renowned chef that donates an hour a night to cook up the supper. But the ingredients that are donated and the food that's donated contains allergens. Now, on the flip side, being that we serve great suppers, the client with no allergies walks out satisfied every night. He gets a better meal than he can get at any five-star restaurant. So his perception of our agency will be completely different. Now, knowing these two different perceptions, the appraisers will have a better idea of what the answers may interpret as. If the client that's happy with our service tells us that we have horrible service, if the client that has no allergies tells us we have horrible service, the appraiser will know automatically that something's wrong. If the highly allergic client tells us that our service is awful, we know that even though service is not one of the issues that he faces, even though the only issue he faces is that the actual food itself will give him reactions, but we know that his perception of the service is tainted. So we need to first gain a perception. We need to first understand where the respondent's answers are rooted. Has the past year been good? Has it been bad? Has it been satisfactory or otherwise? And why? And finally, in part A2, again, this would be more related to employee assessments. But nevertheless, point 2 would be, what do you consider to be your most important achievements of the past year? Again, this is a question that would provide the answer to it would provide the appraisers with more perception of where the answers may be coming from. This would be part A of the questionnaire. In addition, we want to gain perception. What do you like and dislike about working with this agency? about your relationship with this agency. What elements of your relationship do you find most difficult? What elements of your relationship interest you the most? What elements of the relationship interest you the least? This is the next question. What do you consider to be your most important tasks in the next year? This is more specifically related to employee assessments. In addition, what action could be taken to improve your performance in your current position by you and your boss? This is, again, related to employee performance. Also related to employee performance, what kind of work or job would you like to be doing in 1 to 5 years at a time? And what sort of training / experience would benefit you in the next year? Now, you look at all these questions and you'll see some of them are specifically questions that'll give the appraiser a perception. Others are questions that'll give the appraiser an idea of what may be lacking in the agency. And some of these questions may be to provide the appraiser with both. But these are some of the questions that are to be found in Part A of the questionnaire. Now, finally, Part A3 we'd have the respondent list out the objectives that he'd set out to achieve in the past 12 months, or whatever period is covered by this specific assessment, with the measures or standards that have been agreed upon. Against each comment, on achievement or otherwise, with reasons where appropriate. Now, the performance gets scored against each specific objective. And the rating scale can be random, but just for example, say 1 to 3 would be poor, 4 to 6 would be satisfactory, 7 to 9 would be good, and 10 would be excellent. Again, so the respondent will list out the objectives that he'd set out with the measures or standards that have been agreed. And he'll rate them against each comment on the achievement with reasons where appropriate, and then that'll be scored against each objective on whatever rating scale may seem appropriate. That's Part A3 of the questionnaire. Part A4, the respondent will score their own capability or knowledge in the following areas in terms of their current role requirements, whether it's their role as a funder, whether it's their role as a client, whether it's their role as an employee. They're going to score their own capability or knowledge in the areas of commercial judgment, product or technical knowledge, time management, their knowledge of planning, budgeting, and forecasting, and their knowledge of reporting and administration. Again, it's possible that some of the respondents won't know anything about this. It's possible they'll know everything about this. But the purpose is to give the appraiser perspective. If they have no technical knowledge of putting together a meal, they'd have difficulty rating the quality of the meal. They'd have difficulty rating the quality of the level of devotion the agency provides to their clients, etc. We need to get perspective on the respondents' answers. We want to know the respondents' level of knowledge and communication skills and delegation skills, in IT, equipment, machinery skills, and meeting expectations, meeting deadlines and commitments, creativity, problem solving and decision making, teamwork, developing and helping others, energy, determination, and work rate, steadiness under pressure, leadership and integrity. Now again, we don't really care what they think about our delegation skills per se, as much as we want to know how much knowledge they have in this area to be able to effectively rate their answers. For example, let's take problem solving and decision making. Problem solving, okay? If we have an agency that helps some of our clients that are dealing with AIDS, let's say. That's what we do. We assist people that face hardships because of AIDS, okay? Now, we don't necessarily, let's assume we help them medically, okay? Now, we have a team of, let's say we have a team of doctors that donate an hour a week to, say, write prescriptions, okay? We have one client that comes in and comes to those doctors for a prescription for some pain or whatnot, and the doctor takes a look at their records and sees that for whatever reason it is, they cannot prescribe any pain relief medication. So the client walks out in just as much agony as he came in. Now, being that he has no knowledge of medication, he has no knowledge of how doctors may solve dilemmas when trying to write prescriptions for specific illnesses. We know that his answers are rooted in that lack of knowledge. So if he's upset that the doctors couldn't prescribe the pain medication, being that he doesn't have any knowledge of problem solving when writing prescriptions per se, he may say that the doctors have no idea what they're doing. But now we know that being that he has no knowledge, his answer of the doctors have no idea what they're doing is because he has no knowledge of solving problems in writing prescriptions per se, or solving pain issues when there are conflicting illnesses that for whatever reason it may be, the circumstance doesn't allow the doctors to prescribe him pain medication. So again, these questions provide the appraisers with a perspective on where the answers may be rooted. Next we have Part B. Part B is the area of the questionnaire that the appraiser fills out. B1 would be to describe the nature of the respondent's relationship. B2 would review the discussion points in Part A2. B3 would review the respondent's objectives, is given in A3. B4 would score the respondent's knowledge or capabilities, given in A4. B5 would discuss the respondent's relationship direction. And B6 would comment on competencies in current roles and potential for next role or roles.